Hello everybody and a very warm, or as warm as I can pretend, welcome to today's episode of Banter Blitz. Bit of warm-up blitz before the Grand Chess Tour. Day 2 starts in Paris with most of the world's best players. Bunch of rapid games, was very entertaining yesterday. Who's leading? I should know these things. Magnus Carlsen and Wesley, so both on 5 out of 6. After 3 rounds. You do the math. I don't understand how you can get that many points after only 3 games. Anyway, today, first of all, I'm very distracted because I left my phone in my friend's car on the way here. And you know how it is nowadays. It's not like anybody ever calls me, but I still feel totally naked without my phone. It's like I don't know what to do with myself, and I do not understand how people used to survive many years on end without having smartphones. Like, it's a total mystery to me how I was ever able to meet up with anybody or to do anything really before we got these phones. And it's probably not healthy, like attention span is short. No one ever reads a book, like all we do is watch nonsensical, very special interest stuff on the internet, like people playing 5-minute blitz games if they are a premium member on Chess24. Challenge me. Let's enjoy this. I don't feel very awake, even though I've slept a lot. The weather has changed. It's back to normal Hamburg weather, like thunderstorms, cold. So that's probably having a big effect on my psyche. I will use any excuse I can find. Hang on, I can't accept anybody? Oh, that's because I'm still playing my test game against Claudia, which I herewith cancelled. Let us play games of the chess. Let's start by playing against Artur Nawrowski, who I have never played before, and I do understand that I outrate him and will probably crush him, but maybe we will all learn a valuable lesson along the way, like don't underestimate your opponents. It's not enough to be a good player, you also have to play well, how to handle the Queen's Gambit accepted, those kinds of things. No Queen's Gambit accepted. The Slav it shall be. I alternate between knight f3 and knight c3 here, with the occasional e3 or cd5 thrown in. This time around, let's go knight c3. Knight c3 is the advantage that after knight f6 you can go e3 and you avoid certain bishop f5 lines, which you don't avoid after knight f3, knight f6, e3. Has the disadvantage that after knight c3, d takes c4 is a very serious move, which it isn't if you start with knight f3, in my very humble opinion at least. g6 is always possible. This is the so-called Schlechter system, which, well, it's always been around. It's never been very popular because it's a little passive. Bishop g4 is a rare move. Normally you go bishop g7 here. And I shall try to punish bishop g4 ASAP by laying siege on this b7 pawn. Instead of queen b3, now that I think about it, which I won't do for very long, I promise, maybe cd queen b3 was even more challenging, because then he doesn't have queen b6 due to knight takes d5. While now queen b6 looks like a legal move, I would go knight e5, but I don't know. I don't know, basically. If that achieves me very much. He goes b6, but b6 combined with c6 is always a bit double-edged in these structures because you're weakening your light squares. And if you're unlucky, you might not make it out of the opening intact here. I already have some mean ideas like c takes d5, and if c takes d5, bishop b5 check. So you gotta be very careful. Normally it's a bad idea to combine b6 and c6. And I keep half an eye on the chat as I tend to. Let's see. The image has not started. Did he begin? He did begin. Apologies if you can't see me, Vibio. Then again, I'm not having a great hair day. I didn't use any product today. So it's probably best for all of us if you can't see me. Queen c7 loses sight of the d5 pawn. I could have taken on g4 first as well. But no reason not to take on d5 first. And yeah, this is trouble. Too many threats already. Now knight takes d5 looks pretty good. Knight takes g4 also looks strong. It's already a bit of a matter of taste. Bishop b5 as well. And if in doubt, grab all the material you can get. Has always been the motto of House Gustafsson. I've been rewatching Game 1 of Game of Thrones, so all my references will be random, weird Game of Thrones references. And yeah, this is trouble. A8 is hanging, F7 is hanging, G4 is hanging, bishop B5 check is looming. Not gonna end well for Arthur. Bishop E6. Let's throw in a little check, because I can. Knight D7. What is the most painless end? I don't see it, so I'll go Queen A8. Queen D8 seems more or less forced, and by more or less, I mean more. When... yeah, I still don't see a checkmate, which is a bitter disappointment. Of course, I could win by taking all his pieces, like takes, bishop takes D7, knight takes F7, and so on. But I don't want to. I want to play for cheap tricks. That's more in my nature. Even though, no, I don't think that's a true statement. It's more in my nature to grab all the material. Which is strange, because I'm so not materialistic in real life. That's a lie. F6 seems like the only way to prolong the game. I'm hoping for bishop G7, bishop takes D7, bishop takes D7, and queen takes F7, which would be checkmate. Well, after F6, I don't know. I would still have to fool around a little bit. And I might come to regret. Well, the outcome is not really in doubt due to my extra rook and stuff, but I might come to regret my speculative Queen F3 move trying to end the game early, which it did not accomplish. What else can I tell you that we have not talked about yesterday? I'll do another Banter Blitz. I feel very Banter Blitzy today, or I felt very Banter Blitzy yesterday when I set up the 2 Banter Blitzes for today. Probably after the Grand Chess Tour is over, we'll do an hour from like 6 to 7. Then I'll see. Maybe I'll do some more highlight videos like I did yesterday. It's fun going through these games. And rapid, you feel so smart with your engine running and pointing out, oh, world-class player, you could have won here, but you did not do it. It is a fun little activity that I will probably embark on again today. Then, what other important topics could we talk about? I've been studying people's list of the 25 best movies of the century so far, and a bunch of movies popped up on these lists. I think the first list was done by 2 people on the New York Times, and then 2 people from one of the podcasts I'm listening to, The Watch, Andy Greenwald and Chris Ryan, did their list. So I studied those, and there's some movies I haven't seen, and I'm looking forward to seeing, especially a movie called Carlos from 2010 about, what's this dude's name? Carlos the Jackal, one of the most notorious terrorists for like 2 decades. It's supposed to be an excellent movie. I'd never heard of it, so looking forward to that one. Then I want to watch, what's the English title? Chihiro's Reise ins Zauberland? What do you call this in English? Probably something else. Chihiro English. No! Wrong results. Spirited Away. And while I was chatting away, I also won my game against Arthur, who resigned here after Queen B7. He's in trouble. I would probably have played like bishop to B4, stopping this bishop from developing because of Queen E7 checkmate. And yeah, Arthur had seen enough. Thanks for the game, Arthur Nawrowski. Long story short, don't leave your queen side vulnerable so early. Leave this bishop at home, go bishop G7, castles, and then have a look around if you want to play bishop G4. Alright, let's play maybe another game of chess. What about Mr. Abteilung Attacke from Japan? I got crushed by a Japanese player yesterday, if I remember correctly. Normally, I try to store my losses very deeply in the back part of my brain, so I don't remember them correctly. But yesterday is still too fresh. Abteilung Attacke sounds very German. Let's see what he does to me. I hope he doesn't want to do bad things to me as well. D4, knight f6, c4, e6. Another of those positions where sometimes I'll go knight f3, d5, knight c3, sometimes I'll play the Nimzo, sometimes I'll play the Catalan. With white, my general approach is that it's not useful to have a fixed repertoire and play it every game. It makes more sense to, mix it up and alternate depending on your opponent. Mr. Abteilung Attacke goes for the Benoni. You've seen my reflex. Instead of playing d5, I more often than not play knight f3 there, where I feel like my opponents will typically know less. But once in a while, you gotta be principled and grab that space. And this system with knight e2, knight g3 is a system I have a soft spot for. I think it's a good system. It's similar to the Samish King's Indian, where you often play that maneuver, but there you're already committed to playing the move f3. And black typically gains counterplay with h5, h4, knight h7, f5. But here, in this line, in order to force me to play f3, even here I don't have to do it, but you typically have to put your rook on e8. And then this plan with h5, let's say he plays h5 here, f3, h4, knight h1. Not sure I'll play f3, but just for discussion's purpose. Then the typical plan with knight h7 followed by f5 is less good, because this rook is already on e8. Having said all of those things, will I do that, or will I just play bishop g5 here? Now let's do it just so I can illustrate my point. Well, I don't think it's my point, but wise man. I think Peter Heine Nielsen, who taught me most things I know about chess, if we're being honest, was the first one to point out this system with knight e2, knight g3 to me when he was the coach of the German national team at the Chess Olympiad in whatever year that was, 2012? I think that's the last Olympiad I played before they decided I'm too old and too inactive. I don't hold a grudge, just reminiscing. This maneuver, knight a6, knight c7, b6, a6 and so on is possible. It's reasonably slow, however, and white can decide if he wants to let all that happen or if he wants to take countermeasures once black goes a6, preparing b5 to play, for example, rook b1, attempting b4. So all in all, it's a pleasant position. Rook b1 looks a little too passive, especially now that he's played queen to e7. I think it makes sense to focus my forces on the queen side a bit and see what I can do here. Rook a e1, that probably indicates, queen f8, that probably indicates he wants to go knight h7. I'm not sure how to handle this, but I'll spice it up a little bit and go f4, knight h7, bishop h4. Funny square for the bishop, but so is the h7 square for the knight. I've seen this idea being employed. In a somewhat similar situation, black can go bishop d4, check, king h1, f6, something goofy, but I would hope that the weaknesses of his king side will tell eventually, once I start doing something aggressive, I don't know, like bishop c4 and some e5 breakthrough ideas. Interesting position, that is for sure. Queen g7, do I really want to think about e5? I feel it's still half a move too early. I have many tempting options, bishop h5. Bishop c4, preparing for e5 business. I don't know what to do, but the general rule of thumb in blitzes, if you don't know what to do, doesn't matter. Just make any random move and then think. Now I feel it's time to break a little, shake a little. Shake. I haven't thought this through, but after takes, I can go either d6, knight e6, fe, or fe immediately. It feels risky for black to take here, because I have some looming d6 ideas. Probably I should think it through now, while he's thinking about it though. There's also the standard idea after d to go f5, but that feels a little less effective here, to block my own rook on f1. Seems strange to me. So let's calculate. d, fe, rook e5, d6, knight e6. Any wins? Would be nice to have some win. I have compensation after knight d5, but no immediate breakthrough that I can see. So can I do better than that? I could start with d6, knight e6, then fe. And after bishop e5, at least I have some queen d5 business attacking the bishop and the rook. I'm not sure that will win me material, But if he has to give up his bishop play, something like bishop takes g3 or bishop takes c3, then the weaknesses of the dark squares should eventually tell. Or at least I would hope so. Having said all that, I'm now realizing that after bishop e5 I also have the move d6 to d7, which looks quite tempting. g5 is legal, but I have worst case scenario. He takes here. What's the point? I'll take back, it's useful to control the d4 square, so I'll go bc. And I just wants to develop. Okay, but then my position looks pretty nice, does it not? Let's bring the horsey. And after bishop a4, now worst case scenario I can go. Yeah, let me do this. Why not? It's a bit sad to exchange my powerful knight for his knight on h7, but it's nice to gain access to this f6 square. So, actually I'm having second thoughts about this decision. It didn't ruin my position or spoil my advantage, but it feels like I could have done better somehow. Alright, life goes on. This rook wasn't doing all that much, so I'll try to transfer it to a more active location on a7. And it's time to start thinking about cashing in. I'm not sure I will. Let's say this pony could do some work for me, for example. Why do I pre-move that when I could go d takes e8, which would leave me a rook up? Probably I shouldn't. That's why I took back the pre-move, which you are allowed to do. Give me that. And as is my habit, I'm trying to ruin a beautiful attacking game by cashing in and transforming it into a dull technical position and exchange up. Now the question is, will I be able to win this dull technical position? I have a feeling I've done something a little wrong. Still, exchange up, and Mr. D7 is still alive, so things could be worse. But maybe they could be better too. I went to b6. I was expecting him to go to b7. To be perfectly frank with you. Can I go here? I kind of want to. Let's see if that works. He wants to go knight f4 and checkmate me. But I have a sixth sense. Or not really. I do have a sense when they try to checkmate me. I don't like it. So instead, I shall try to... I have auto queen on, which is a pity. Or I could get a horsey. But that won't happen. Anyway, thanks for the game. Abteilung Attacke. I think I was doing well. Then maybe cashed in a little early here with d7. Many other options. Bishop g7, bishop c6, you name it. But what can you do? Choose another opponent. 1 second, I gotta adjust one of my exciting windows here. A stuttering video. That is always my favorite thing to read in the chat. How stuttering are we? Problems? I'll play one more game, then if there's more complaints I will do my usual troubleshooting, which is like cluelessly running around and yelling and changing internet lines and the usual. But for now, we shall play Der Spartaner 25. Mr. 25. Are you there, Der Spartaner? I never understood this definition of Spartaner, because in German, and I guess in English as well, the meaning is someone who does not need many material possessions to be happy and is living a simple life. But I watched that movie 300. This is how I got my education. watching Gerard Butler movies. And the Spartans, they didn't seem to live in a very Spartanic lifestyle. Like they were, enjoying the finer things in life. And it seemed like they were having pretty opulent. Is that true? I can't remember much of the movie. I watched the spoof too, Meet the Spartans. It was terrible. So yeah, I don't have a lot of recollection. While I'm discussing this, for some reason, my hand decided to play this bishop c4 line of the Grunfeld. What is this called? The Gligerich line? Which has fallen out of fashion because black just has too many good options here. Queen c7, b6, knight a5, bishop g4, bishop d7, bishop g4, f3, bishop d7. There's too many things he can do. And white players don't want to subject themselves to this torture anymore. This queen c7, rook d8 is a line from my youth. I think I once had this line against, who was it, Shahmamedyarov, who played queen d7, dc5, and I got a good position. Then, of course, failed to convert it. It was a draw in Gothenburg European Team Championships 2005. Back then, this line was considered to be good for white, but I haven't checked it for a long, long time, and I've seen some people are still doing this. Queen a5, for some reason I thought they weren't doing. Queen b3 looks logical, now that the queen occupies that square, so you don't have knight a5. And I'm targeting Mr. f7 pawn. If e6, I have to think about what to do. Ugh. Probably d5, and then have a look around. Do I want to go d5? Looks like the way to play, no? After ed, maybe bishop d5. Once again, hitting this soft spot on f7. It looks like there's no particularly convenient way to defend it. Rook d7 looks a little awkward. Rook f8, I have bishop d6, and I don't see other moves to cover it. So that seems like a sensible thing to do. I could also go ed, but then knight e5, and I don't really see a follow-up. So bishop takes it is. Der Spartaner 25, 1632, but big expert on the Grunfeld. Those things always scare me. Maybe he's not very active on Chess24 and kept all his Grunfeld secrets for the Banter Blitz sessions. How dare you, Spartaner? Goes rook f8. No. I thought I could do this and ask some unpleasant questions, which really is one of my favorite things to do. What are we discussing in the chat? I'm reading Jan ? Yes ? What's up, pawn pusher? What's your favorite line against the Grunfeld? I don't have any favorite lines. I think I explained this I talked about this in my last game, that I don't really believe in having favorite lines with white, because any line is playable for black, any mainstream line, if black knows what he's doing. So I tend to alternate. And I've played many different things against the Grunfeld. More often than not, I'll probably decide to go one knight f3 or one c4 and not allow it at all. And if it does happen, I've done many things. I've played this stuff. I've played 5 queen b3, 5 queen a4 check, cd rook b1, g3 systems, f3 systems, all kinds of things. It really depends on the opponent and on my mood and on whatever ideas are out there. Anyway, Der Spartaner resigns because he's a rook down, which is too much. Probably he knows I'm working on this book on being a rook up in the endgame. He doesn't want to give me any fresh examples. Thanks for the game, Der Spartaner 25. My voice is declining, so I'll take my drugs, which... No, they seem to be not that heavy. Halspastillen? I'm not sure those will fix my voice. I was told to drink a lot of water and suck on these and crush Jan 2555, which thankfully is not my rating. I'm sure I'll get there one day, but not today. That's what we tell death. Not today. Another Game of Thrones reference, that makes no sense. Jan 2555 from Belgium. d4 knight f6. Let's honor the current trend and play the London system, which they all seem crazy about. If you want to know what I think one should do against it, check out my new video series on how to meet the London, the Trompovsky, the Verisov, all the bullshit. Am I allowed to say bullshit on the show? I guess not. In this position, I recommended e6 after lengthy contemplation of cd, ed, bishop f5, immediate bishop f5, but I came to the conclusion that e6 is the safest way to play. That's what Jan 2555 does. I won't give any more details on what I recommended after knight f3, bishop d3, because I'm a genius businessman and I want you to watch that video series. Bishop e7, I'm not sure about knight f3. Maybe I should have started with h3, because knight h5 scares me mildly. More often than not, you go bishop d6 in these positions. Nothing particularly wrong with bishop e7. Now play b6, bishop b7. But white at least gets a fairly pleasant position, I would say. I have no clue what to do. Maybe a3. a3 is always one of these random moves that might make sense to prepare b4 and grab some space. Or if black goes c4, b5, a3 could be useful. But it's really sort of an admission, like, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. Knight a5. Okay, that is asking me to occupy this square. Or I'm not sure if it's asking me. But I will consider it an invitation to put my knight in the middle. Bishop d6, could I pin him? Knight f3 is the most logical, or the most obvious looking move, but bishop g5 looks tempting, now that his bishop has left his post. Trying to either get some stonewall with the bishop out, or do even more damage using this pin. But generally I think this is a good construction for white, if black allows him to get it. Releases the tension in the center, all that stuff. I still need to find a way forward. I might have to go for g4 at some point, which is normally not my favorite thing to do, to move my pawns in front of my king. That's one of the many weaknesses I have in my chess, that I'm more comfortable with piece play than with pawns play, which sometimes is a good thing because pawns never move back, blah blah blah. But I feel like, especially for g4s and h4s in front of my own king, I often see like these super grandmasters do it, and I always marvel at how they could come up with that decision. Because to me, not so easy. What's going on now? Knight e4, I can go knight takes e4. After de, worst case scenario I have bishop e7. Best case scenario I have something else. Well, knight h7 is of course legal, if a bit passive. Don't really want to exchange pieces, so I won't. Knight can jump to g5, but then queen g4, and after h4 it will hopefully have to find a new home, or give me a pawn by jumping to e4, and f5, ef6 also does not scare me away from that. What's Carl Nearing talking about? What are you talking about, Carl? I'm not positive it was him who was going to have the surgery. What surgery is that? I don't know. Bishop c8. What's that about? If I go h4, what do you want? You want to do some f5, e5 business? That doesn't seem to work, so I'll go h4 and see what happens. 94. Jan 2555 is panicking. Yet to go back. I understand it's passive, but this is worse. This is all of a sudden a double attack. a8 is hanging and h7. It's not hanging, but would be unpleasant if my queen went there. So, problems. Once again, rook is a rook. Will make me forget all of my attacking plans. Queen c7. He's trying to trap my fair lady on a8, but I will extricate it in time. I'm never sure if I'm using these English words correctly, because I don't know the exact meaning, but they normally feel like half right. Don't checkmate me on g2, Jan 2555. Don't you think I'm not paying attention to your cruel intentions? I might have some checkmating ideas of my own. Rook f7, rook f7, queen g6, king h8, queen h6, king g8, bishop h7. Looks decent. Even though there's still this checkmate looming, so we have to be careful that Jan does not trick us. I generally don't trust people called Jan. Just, life experience. King f8 makes the tricking part a little harder, but queen h8, as I said, queen h6, king g8, bishop h7, rook h7, rook f8 checkmate would have been quite effective. Well, now it is checkmate. Sorry, Jan, 25-55. Right, let's play another game of l'échec. What about Mr. SGIS? Skis. Time for my one daily e4 outing. Which, I know, I do this mainly against low-rated people. I don't have enough e4 chops to play it regularly, which is a pity, because most complete players nowadays are able to play d4, e4, c4 equally, and I'm really not. Then again, Levin Aronia seems to be doing pretty well with white, without going much e4 either, so maybe that's not my biggest problem. SGIS plays the Scandinavian, which, I don't know much about, but how bad can it be for white to go knight c3 and then get the pieces out? Queen a5 or queen d6 or queen d8, all of these moves are legal. In my days, they did this. I think someone else did this against me recently, and I didn't know what to do. I still don't know what to do. I guess this is the trendy line in the Scandi. Trendy Scandi. I don't want him to get e6 and get all his pieces out and be all comfy, so d5 looks like, I don't know, reasonable way to stop that. Slightly worried I'm going to lose the c2 pawn, but it feels risky for black to take. Let's say takes, knight d5, bishop d5. Anyway, lost my train of thought, as usual. Was wondering if knight b6 bothers me, and then I decided, it does, but what can I do? Whoa, long castles. Can you do that? Looks very risky to me. Trying to show my sudden surge of interest by opening my eyes, but I only can open them like 30%, so I'm not sure that has come across very clearly. What can I do? Knight b5 maybe? I'm pretty lousy attacker of the castled king, which is another shortcoming of mine. I'm better with like both kings being saved, and we play for random squares on the queen side. I'm fine with tactics there, but not when kings are involved. Like, once again, I watched too many Game of Thrones, and I'm scared of this stuff. When you play the Game of Thrones, you either win or you die. There is no middle ground, and I like the middle ground in chess. I enjoy my draws. So this winning or dying, freaking me out a little bit. Terrible move, knight g5, but you know. Probably don't know. I'm not sure. I'm playing for tricks, I'm hoping to somehow get my bishop to f4 and my knight to a7 and checkmate him. But I have a feeling that's not too likely to happen. I should probably take with the bishop so that knight e5 does not come with tempo. After king e2, knight e5, attacking my bishop on c4 and defending the pawn on f7. Yeah. Don't try this at home. Don't put your knights on b5 and g5. And hope for the best. It's better to have some sort of plan when you're playing chess. Like develop your pieces. That kind of thing. I just can't resist. And again, if he plays with e5 after bishop f4, I'll feel so stupid. Nah, not gonna be able to do it. I really wanted bishop f4, threatening knight a7 checkmate, but e5 was too strong a move. So I'm gonna have to switch to the usual Pac-Man mode. Try to grab this or that, or both. But I have not given up the dream of bishop f4, knight a7. One day, probably not today. He can give a discovered check with his knight, but I can take his rook, which makes the discovered check slightly less appealing. Alright, I'm in exchange, and what is it, a pawn up, so I'm winning. But I'm not all that proud of myself. Story of my life. Not enough winning. Oof, I have a feeling today is one of these banter days where I'm not making a lot of sense. Like sometimes I have days where my rambling sort of can make some sense, but today is not one of these days. It's just rambling. I apologize. Maybe I'll do better later. During the late shift at 6 p.m. Or maybe not, you never know. I'm still trying to sneakily checkmate SGIS by knight c7. But he will probably move his bishop to h6 or g7, thereby stopping me from checkmating him. Which, I'm not gonna lie, it's a bit frustrating, SG. Yeah. Those are the moments when the game is not that exciting. I know I'm gonna win, but I don't have anything very educational or wise to say, when in the old days I could talk to you guys about the hottest TV shows out there. But I'm not that up to date. I've been watching SGIS Resigns. I've been watching American Gods, but I don't like it that much. It's visually very stunning, but it sort of does not keep me attentive all the way. Especially this. I haven't seen the season finale. I'm one episode behind. The episode prior to the season finale, I don't know, didn't do it for me. Let's play against Knight Jedi 2003. Were you born in 2003? That would be like the reincarnation of the Jedi, right? It's not the return of the Jedi in 2003. Even the new Star Wars movie, the first one was, when was it, 99? So Knight Jedi 2003 confuses me greatly. Let's see what opening he has in store for us after d4, c4, c6. Mr. Move Ordero. Like, you can try to remove order here with bishop f4, d5, e3. But I never really understood the appeal. It's also not too clear to me what black is gaining by that move order. Maybe he's trying to avoid some version of the exchange Slav after d4, d5, c4, c6, takes. With this, I don't know. Bishop f5. This is the system that Magnus Carlsen has employed a bit recently. In, where was it? I can't remember. In Vaikanze, maybe? When you can go bishop d2, bishop e2, knight e5, queen b3, lots of main lines. After bishop e2, I believe most people go h6, not e6. Now we have a version of the normal 3 knight f3, 4 e3 line, where you could have a discussion if... I don't know what discussion you could have. I'm sure you could have some kind of discussion. I don't know what to do. That's the good news for Knight Jedi. I'll go here, but I have a feeling this could be slightly wrong. Maybe you should play more slowly. Because b5 does not seem particularly bothered by my activities. Yeah, I'm not sure. Have I done something wrong? I'm gonna have to think very soon. Very seriously. Oof, both of those don't sound very appealing. If he gets knight c6, knight a5, I won't be too happy a camper. He's probably thinking about some knight e4 action, but he does not pull the trigger. Nah, I should take before it's too late. Rook c1 is just trying to make it a little harder for him to get knight c6 in. Bishop goes to d6, which is fair enough. I'm wondering, sometimes you can ignore this attack in these positions and do something to help our cause on the other side. I'm wondering if this is one of these cases, or if it's not. I could play h3 or even f4, but both of these moves aren't that pretty. I don't know, man. e4 maybe? Let's spice it up a little. I've been slow as well. Oof. The Knight Jedi lured me into the one thing I dislike in this world. Thinking. I don't know if what I'm doing here makes a lot of sense. It's gonna get very messy. But it's an interesting position for sure. If he plays b4, for example, he does take on h2, which is fair enough. Thinking here. Opponent disconnected? No, don't disconnect. This is an exciting position. And he's back. Does this make any sense? I have a feeling I'm sort of just trying to crush myself. Or being crushed. It's a thin line between crushing and being crushed. But yeah, I was intending e5, but then I couldn't see what to do after, let's say, knight h5, because my king in the center is just as vulnerable as his king. So yeah, this doesn't look great, to be honest with you. Bishop g3 check, king f1, de, knight e4. At least after queen d4 I can take on g3, so I'm not losing instantly. But yeah, don't like my position much. I'll have to be very careful to even keep this game going. Expecting him to give this check, and I should probably go to f1. Oh, he doesn't give the check, he goes queen b6, interesting. Oh boy, I wish I was a little bit faster. E5, rook c8, all kinds of weird ideas looming, but none of them seem to really work, do they? Can't really make it work. I gotta make a move too. This feels so wrong, bishop e3. I feel like this was the moment to inflict some damage, but I only have 2 minutes, and it's more important to make moves than to make good moves sometimes. And bishop e3, at least it does cover my pawn. It's just a pity to give up all this central pressure I was trying to put. Still, I have ideas. e5. Knight takes d5, knight a4, knight takes b5, a4. There's all kinds of things looming. There's queen b7. He's playing some very surprising moves, but they're always making me think, which is a pity, because I can't see any of these moves coming, to be honest with you. I'll go e5. Let's keep it a little simpler. Remind ourselves of a simpler time. I keep missing very obvious moves though. Knight h5 I didn't see coming either. It's very confusing. Bishop f4 bothers me now. And just as I said it, he does it. This doesn't work, does it? Ugh, no, I blundered. Well deserved. Confused me enough, or just outplayed me really, to induce this blunder. I thought I was being clever, but I wasn't. So now I'm kind of lost. But we all know, this is when the game begins. I will get the knight, hopefully back one day. So it's not completely over. But I can't say it's a position I enjoy greatly. Do I have to take? I kind of want to avoid rook c1, but I guess that's a bit of a luxury. What's the pawn situation? Didn't really keep count. I also have to speed up all these problems. It's a hard knock life for us. That's good news. Drama! I'm sure. Not a big believer in my flagging skills, Mr. Knight Jedi. Don't you hate it when your flagging skills are disrespected? 50 seconds, that's like a correspondence game. And Knight Jedi does resign now. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I don't know if I was lost, but the computer was probably yelling at all of my moves at this stage. And yeah, I'm not sure how bad it got, but it was an interesting game. Thanks for the game, very messy. And don't try to repeat any of this. I have a feeling I misplayed this position badly at every possible juncture. Thanks for the game, Knight Jedi 2003. Very tough fight. Let's play against another dude with a scary rating, Matti Valle. And I'm saying scary rating because 1500 normally indicates that he's never played a game on this side, which means we don't know anything about him. Is he the world champion of Finnish chess? Or is he a rank beginner who is playing his first chess game ever in this very game? I don't know the answer to that. While Matti Valle decides if he's here or not, let's check in with the chat. Kalnering is awake. Rasmus88 has to go. See you next time. Rasmus. Fuxia saying Valar Morghulis, Jan. Yeah, Valar Doharis, is that the answer? I'm in season 1 currently, so this Valar Morghulis talk, faceless man business, I'm not there yet. I'm still full Ned Stark. Oh, he's so noble and so honorary. I'm sure good things will happen to him mode. It's not like I'm watching for the first time, so you can't spoil anything. But there's this new podcast called Binge Mode that I'm listening to. For no reason really, just so you can have an excuse to rewatch Game of Thrones. Looked like my opponent wasn't there, so we will play against Rompe Tetchos. Ooh, scary sounding name. Deception Point 3 says, you play me, Jan. I will subscribe tonight. I don't know. You subscribe and then you can play me tonight in the 6 p.m. show. That is the offer that I'm willing to make. And let us play against Rompetechos for now. And we have this weird line. Knight c3 was recently brought back to everybody's attention when MVL used it against Giri. Giri played g6. But Rompetechos plays another of the principal moves here. e5 looks ugly, but actually makes a lot of sense. Black is saying, I only have one weakness in my position. I will control the center, and I'm comfortable doing that. Knight d2 looks like a very dumb move as well. That's the end of the statement. But I've seen people employ this long-winded horse maneuver trying to occupy the d5 square. Knight f3, d2, f1, e3. And see what happens to me. Rompetechos is weighing his options here. I don't know, theory bishop e6 looks very natural. I'll put a horsey here. Often the problem is if black just exchanges all these pretty horses arriving to d5, then it's hard to prove an advantage. Well, this a6 b5 plan, it's certainly possible, but it does not scare me as much, because after a b, my rook gets access to the a file, and it feels like good things could happen to me. A lot of talk in the chat. Bit of a chatterbox. Fuxia saying her favorite Game of Thrones character is Lyanna Mormont. Is that the fierce little girl? 13-year-old who rules House Mormont, maybe? I don't remember things. Is she related to... See, I can't keep track of the names. Joda Mormont? And what's the boss of the Night's Watch called? I don't know. I'm not properly nerded enough to know my Game of Thrones names well. Which, yeah, brings us back to the discussion from yesterday. I feel like I am a nerd, I'm just not very good at it. Because I lack the attention span to learn stuff, but I still like nerdy things. No, I'm not sure that's a fair description. Anyway, what I'm saying is I'm like a level 2 Game of Thrones nerd. There are people who read the books and know every single thing about it and are spending their life in Reddit Game of Thrones discussion threads. I'm not one of those, but I'm also a bit more than a casual TV viewer because I'm listening to my dumb podcasts and I have done some background research. That sounds incredibly dumb, talking about a fantasy show. But yeah, I'm a bit of a Game of Thrones nerd, but not a level 3 maester. As for this game, Rompetechos is playing quite well, not like a 1572 player, so I have to start giving this game more focus. Not playing Queen C1 Knight E2 check, for example. Yeah, I'm not better. The knight is coming to E7. He's actually playing a bit of a model game for what should be done in this type of structure. There you go. Very confusing, but what can I do? Just focus, continue making moves. Except that I do not have an advantage. Evans Gambit is asking when was the last time Jan lost in this Banter Blitz show. I lost the game yesterday, got like crushed in 20 moves. That was very frustrating. Game of Pawns saying, Fuxia, you are understanding me. Fuxia saying, I don't watch TV either, but Game of Thrones is a must. Yeah, there's a lot of people that don't watch TV, but watch a lot of TV. I'm also one of those. I never switch on the television, but I do have, I have all the nonsense. Netflix, Amazon Prime, whatever. In the old days, I watched a lot of DVDs. But yeah, of course, I'm way too good to watch TV as well. Well, I don't know what to do here either. Ugh. Decisions. Don't you hate those? Should B3 is probably not the thing to do. But I'm running a bit low on time talking about... I don't even know what I was talking about. Yep, I'm being outplayed again. Why does everybody always have to outplay me? It's not very nice. Mr. Rompetechos, why are you better at chess than me? It's frustrating. You're rated 1572, you shouldn't be. But such is life. You spent too much time watching and rewatching Game of Thrones, listening to Game of Thrones podcast, and all of a sudden, all that time could have been spent on studying the ins and outs of the 3e5 Sicilian. Has gone to pop culture, and Rompetechos is crushing you. Not a pleasant experience. As for the position, I don't know. I have a feeling I might be slightly worse because my king is a little weaker. And I have 3 isolated pawns to his 2 isolated pawns. Then again, my 3 isolated pawns cover a lot of ground still, controlling some useful squares. So I don't know how bad it is. 123 Oblivion 1231 is asking, Mr. Jan, is it possible for you today to play against a non-premium member? It is not. I'm sorry, 123 Oblivion 1231. But I'm sure it's possible for you today to become a premium member. Then I can play against you. Sorry, those are the rules. Very strange things. Now Rompetechos spent 52 seconds on the not very useful move King to G7. So it looks like the trend of the game is shifting a little bit, but now he's back to making strong moves quickly. I don't know what's going on, but what can I do? Just make moves, win on time, the usual. He offered a draw, which I shall heroically decline. Ned Stark style, no compromise. I'm not better, obviously, after rook c3. I'm also not yet worse, even though I could easily get worse. But not worse yet. Tetchos is back to playing excellently at a very fast pace, which will make my quest a little harder. But g5 once again gives me hope in form of a pawn. What's going on here? I'm so confused. I guess I should stop being confused and embrace the struggle, the beautiful struggle. Is this still a draw? So unfair. This was still a draw. After all the progress I've made, after all we've been through, Rompetechos, you're telling me this position is still drawn. You're not even wrong. Sad. He has a plan. So you're telling me you have a plan. Do I have any way to make progress here? There should be some way, right? To at least threaten something. There must be some way to make progress. This is not it. Looks quite effective, this second rank defense. You know what, I feel dirty flagging in this position, so I'll offer a draw, even though this was a very confusing game. And I'm not quite sure what went down there, but I'm sure someone will be able to tell me. Yeah, perfect play by Rompetechos for the most part, except for, some very confusing 1 minute break where he played King G7. But good game, what can I do? Let's play another game. Against, what about Grondilu? Have I played Grondilu? You've been around for a while, right? I've seen your name. It looks like we never played. D4, E5. What's that all about? Give me that pawn. I've seen this line. It's not the best line in the universe. I used to try this when I was a kid, hoping for queen takes b2, bishop c3, bishop b4, which wins for black. But after knight c3, of course, black's position is fairly terrible. Good news for Grondilu is I don't know how it continues, though. Looks kind of lost for black already, doesn't it? Knight d5, let's say. Let's find out. Or hang on, maybe it was more circumspect to play knight takes d2. I don't know. Like, I'm all for analyzing dumb openings, but even I have my limits. I have not spent a lot of time on this. Why did I give that check? I'm already drifting. I'm still so confused by that last game that I don't know. I can't keep it together. Very greedy, Grondilu. I like it. I don't applaud your first move, but I applaud your extremely greedy, pawn grabby attitude to chess. And I fully endorse it. Let me grab some pawns of my own. Like this pawn grabbery, it should not be a one-way street. It should be give a little, take a little. Otherwise, I feel it's not fair. Let your poor heart break a little. Knight e5 looks Good in greedy pawn grabbing spirit, bad in execution, because queen e7 ends the game. Still, this was a fun game. Thank you, Mr. Grandilo. Let's play against Mr. G-Pawn. G-Pawn starts with the E-Pawn. Caro-Kann maybe? Maybe Caro-Kann. Why not? Goes 3e5. Very aggressive. This is another one of those systems where I believe white should be better, but I wouldn't want to play it with white because it feels like it's sort of easier to play with black. I also don't know what black is supposed to do really, so normally, well, you get the idea. I move my pieces somewhere and hope for the best. 97 is probably wrong. G-Pawn, another big expert of chess. Everybody's a big chess specialist nowadays. This is a problem. With all this information out there, people just know too much about the ancient game of chess. And it's harder to have an edge. Which is very sad. I don't know, what should I do? Probably defend the b7 pawn. Not sure what white's plan is. Typically it's some rook e1, knight f1 thingy, but after c4, I guess he should be consistent and try to grab more space with c5, or he goes a4 and wants a5. Very greedy. Do you think all the space is yours, really? I'm not sure about a5. c5 was also an option, just trying to create even more tension in the center. That felt a bit much. Now c5, this is interesting timing. Might be good, but I have a feeling I should fight against this as soon as I can. I was gonna pre-move queen b6, but then I saw that he can take and put his knight on b3, which I don't like. So I changed my mind and will take with the knight. Queen c3 though. Not a happy camper. Should d3? Does that make me happier? Maybe a little, but still not too happy. Okay, what to do? I need to get some pieces out. Here or here? Knight f5, it's always vulnerable to g4 harassment. Well, knight g6, it's vulnerable to misplaced. Hard to say. Oh yeah, I don't like my position. Bishop d2, I think I'm just worse. So if you're worse, just blitz out some moves. Try to look confident. Don't let anybody know that you're dying inside. And, you know, hope for the best. I keep coming back to that hope for the best topic. It's a bit sad that that's the best chess advice I got. You know, just hope for good things to happen. But often it comes down to that, at least in my games. I guess I can castle. I was wondering if I had to stop a5, a6, but a5, rook a8, a6, queen b6, knight c5, knight d4 seems to keep me more or less alive. Knight d2, probably a good move, which of course I did not see coming. How do we do this? This, maybe? The feeling I'm being outplayed once again. Mr. G-Pawn is crushing me. Well, I'm not sure if once again, but he is crushing me. And I don't like it. Don't like it one bit. I would like to get the c5 break in, but not gonna be able to do it, huh? I can go for this f6 break, but it doesn't really do much for me. So, bad position, must swindle the G-star. How do we do it? Won't be easy, actually. It's really, really bad. Who's bad? Looking for tricks. Not that I can spot a lot, unfortunately. But I'm still looking. Is this a trick or just a blunder? It's this thin line sometimes. He does believe me, probably rightly. So rook e6, I thought I had knight d4. Or was it knight d4? I thought I had something. Maybe I didn't. Knight h4, king h1. No progress there. Doesn't look like progress. Once again, I have a feeling there's nothing I can do. Sad. Rook f2, rook f3, rook f3, rook no. Something takes g2. Nothing there. Strange. Gotta try though, right? Position is so bad otherwise. Now this might be tilting. And it doesn't work either. Ugh. Doesn't work at all. Rook f3, knight g2, I missed queen g6. Which is a big problem actually. No way back. Just keep a straight face, the usual. But yeah, this is crushing. Too strong, the g-pawn. Not willing to resign yet, but I have a feeling I might have to sooner or later. He does not seem to be into making mistakes, which is very sad. Is this a perpetual? It's some checks, but probably not enough. Maybe it is enough. Nope. Rook f1, queen g1, rook f3. Nothing to do? Nope. Sorry, rook. See, I can't even name the squares anymore. Of course. What is this? Mercy draw offer or just repeating once to see if I will spend more time? All very confusing. Use the other rook. Anyway, very good game by g-pawn. Oh yeah, crushed me. Not much I can say in my defense. Let's play Ship It. Ship It goes a3. Oh, interesting. And now you have played the very useful move a3 in all of these positions, which allows you to build this pawn chain. And even though you're a pawn up, your tempo up, and the pawn up, still nothing for white. So sad how these things go. After all this cunning, still just equal. That's the problem with having these extra useful moves with white. It's still hard to play for an advantage. I'm not saying black is better, it's just equal, e3, whatever, but it's not exactly crushing. Bishop f6. Bit double-edged. Not bad necessarily, but kind of risky to give up the dark square bishop. Of course it weakens my king's position a teeny tiny bit, but also gives up the two bishops and the center. I wouldn't have done it. Once again, not saying black is better. I don't think he is. Just saying. I would not have done that. King h8. d8. Hard to decide. I'm supposed to speak, right? I don't really feel talkative. It's just Blitz. Let's play Blitz. f5 so he doesn't do bad things to me on the light squares. Bishop d3 or bishop g4. I want to go knight e7. Get my shit together. Then, I don't know, bring the queen over to f6 and enjoy the fruits of my central control in the distant future. Alright. I'll use my chat moderating skills at the same time. I never know what button to click. So complicated. Queen g3 check. I should probably focus on the game again. King h8. Then rook comes to g8. If I'm lucky, I'll also be able to pick up a piece with f4. Takes, takes. And then h4 horsey is in a bit of trouble. But I have a feeling that won't happen. Didn't happen. Sad. Why am I being outplayed every game? It's starting to get to me. All this relentless being crushed. In case there's like some misunderstanding here, I like crushing you all. I don't like being crushed by you all. And this is my show, so it should be about what I like, shouldn't it? Maybe not. I don't know how these things work. I don't like my position though. e4, his queen g5, his knight d4. Mainly queen g5 bothers me. It's a hard knock life. So the IST is trying to talk me into the German championship. Yeah, I didn't qualify. You gotta qualify for those things. Or you gotta get one of the, I don't know how many wild cards the German Chess Federation or the organizers hold. But I didn't get one of those, so not gonna be able to do it. Also probably busy. I don't know when it is, but no, I won't be playing this year. Maybe one of the other years. Like next year maybe? Who knows? Knight b5. Why am I struggling so much in every game? Rook here. Bishop back. Bishop back. I have a feeling you're getting your time's worth here because of all the knowledge I'm dropping. Bishop here. Rook here. Now then c5. Don't like. Bishop d2. Let's try to at least mix it a little. You gotta mix it to win the biscuit. Problem is, it's once again not all that great for me. But at least gets a little more interesting. Bishop f7, rook g2, king g2, queen g4 check. And see what happens. Once again, the usual see what happens conclusion. Queen g3, queen d1. I couldn't see a way I was getting checkmated, even though I would not rule out that that way exists. Knight f5, tactics. But tactics don't work here, because I can recapture with the bishop and I don't have to self-mate by knight takes. And very good game by Shippet, who, once again, everybody's outplaying me today, came close as well. But yeah, then, in time trouble. Lost it. One last game before the Grand Chess Tour starts. And you can switch over to that and watch some good chess for a change. I will play against Blablup. Where you at, Blablup? Are you with us? We don't have time. Sorry, no time to wait, Blablup. Let's try another one. And if that doesn't work, we have to call it a day. Because I want to be finished in time. What about Mr. Ete? Oof, strong player, 2-6-40. Must focus. d4, g6. Can't go wrong with that. Get some pieces out. Normally people that play this move order don't just want to play the King's Indian, but Ete is an exception. He's a King's Indianer. Just wants to transpose by giving white more options. I'm not sure what that's about, but I am not in a position to criticize a man's opening choices. He plays h6 in this, which is not the main line, but it is a playable line. I've seen people do this before. Knight g4. I think I had a game here against, who was it, John Nunn maybe? I have a feeling I played this against Dr. Nunn, but I could be wrong because I have the memory of Dr. No. Did he have a good memory? Maybe he had a good memory. I don't know. Anyway, this line, I have a feeling I can't remember things. Take a go. Did I go c5 here? All of this looks very much like my game against Nunn. And I analyzed it in the very old days, I'm sure. But it's been a while. This h6 line has not been very popular. And I'm not sure. But I have a feeling I had this here. Rook f7. What did I do? Probably went for some a4 move. This looks like a move I would make. Preparing cd, cd, knight b5, a6, knight a3. And then trying to get to this b6 square. Not really sure this is how it went. But sometimes one should just think, not only try to remember what one, and by one I mean me, has done in the past. But just, you know, try to make some half-sensible moves. Take it from there. Does this qualify as a half-sensible move? I have to be a little careful after knight f4 not to blunder some tactics. I also blunder bishop b5, so it might be too late not to blunder any of these tactics. Here we go. Knight a4 felt strange. Thing is knight d3, knight f4, and Even I have too much self-respect to play this position after bishop takes f4. So I'm sort of committed to allowing him to take on f1, which is probably not the end of the world, because my knight on b6 will at least stop this rook from becoming too active. Hang on, now I could take on a8 if I were so inclined, but no, it looks better to take back. Be an exchange down, but I'll get the g4 pawn, get good control over the light squares. So I think this position is kind of acceptable. We'll see how it goes. Queen rook c7 is the move you would expect. Then again, goes knight f4, but where's this knight headed? After g3, you want h5, or what's your point? I don't know, let's find out. h5, I thought just queen d1. Maybe I'm not threatening to take on f4, but it will be a nuisance for black to have to consider it. And if the knight does move, then I can take on h5. So it looked decent. If he goes back, I'll do something active. h4 maybe. I don't know. A lot of I don't know analysis, but that's because I don't know. Queen f6, so aggressive. Probably a good move too. What can I do? I should probably take, even though it's a little scary. Sometimes we have to do slightly scary things. Even though I'm very scared. Scared! Trying to calculate, but black has too many options, which makes it harder to calculate. g4, f3, queen b2. He goes for g4, planning queen h4. Which, yeah, is one of the scary options. What do I do about it? Maybe my position is just not very good. That is a possibility I can't completely rule out. I have a feeling it's time to centralize my king. Because, you know, kings are better in the center. That is a well-known rule of chess. And after f3, it just feels so lonely on the king side. I am the worst patzer in the universe. I missed queen d4 check, which is pathetic. Now I'm annoyed. Now I'll be annoyed for the rest of the day. He has a perpetual and probably a checkmate. Oh yeah, it is checkmate. Rook c7. Ugh, that's just pathetic. Who would have thought it's not always a good idea to centralize your king? Yeah. That's just sad. Should I maybe try not to lose all my pawns with check? I'm steaming, so it probably doesn't matter anymore. Any last tricks? Let's try to think of one last trick at least. But no, there's really no last tricks. To miss queen d4 check really is one of the more pathetic things I've done over the course of my extremely pathetic Banter Blitzing career. And I'm annoyed, very annoyed about Will I finally be checkmated? Will the Lord of Lights come and accept me as one of his own? Not like I have much of a choice here. Are we drifting a little bit, Mr. E.T.? Not that my position is very good, but I'm still alive, or I'm still not checkmated, let's put it that way. Which is more than I could have hoped for. Pretty much all the way. Any more trickery I could think of? He offers a draw, which is very confusing. Why would you offer a draw? Then let your time run out. All very strange. Problem is I'm still lost, but I did win on time after h4, rook a8, queen d5. I'm still steaming, and of course it deserved victory there. Then again, you gotta finish the job, so I don't feel particularly bad. But yeah, like missing queen d4 check is just madness. This position, I don't know what's happening. It might be bad for me, might be good for me. It's very confusing. And I don't have very good instincts in King's Indians, which has always been a problem. But yeah, to miss queen d4 check annoyed me greatly. Anyway, that's it for today. You can now switch over if you've been watching this live. If you haven't been watching this live, what are you doing with your life? Go to Chess24, check whenever there's a new Banter Blitz, and join the show live. Now let's enjoy the Grand Chess Tour in Paris. Day 2, some proper chess with the best players in the world. I'll be back at, what time was it? 6 p.m. with another edition of this show. Bye, see you then.